Hi guys, I'm Alexandra from largefamilymama.com. Last week I began my How to Teach Children to Knit series, and I started off really simple, so you can start with teaching preschoolers how to knit. I started with single finger knitting, and today we are moving on to 4 finger knitting. You could use 2 fingers, 3 fingers, but I will show you how to do 4 finger knitting, but the principle is the same for the rest as well. All you're going to need for today's project is some chunky wool, quite chunky if you can, and a crochet hook. And as I said in my previous video, it's always good to know that you're making something that's going to be useful. It's a lot easier to teach children to do these things if they can see that it's for a practical use. So at the end of each of these tutorials, I always include a little project that you can make with your children. Today we're going to be making a headband ear warmer. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our yarn. We're going to leave quite a long tail, and we're going to hold that between our thumb and our first finger. Then we're going to get the yarn over the first finger, under, over, under, and then we're going to come back. So we're going over the little finger, under the next one, over the next one, over, under, over, and then come back again until we've got 2 loops on each finger. Now we're going to start with our first finger, and we're going to grab the yarn that's furthest away from our fingernail and pull it over. Same with the next one. Oops, that one's nearly coming off. Next one. And the next one. Then we can just move these up slightly, and then we repeat the process. So we're going to go over, under, over, and then when you're on the last one you come back round, and then you come back over the middle finger, then you hold it with the thumb and first finger. And again we've got 2 loops on each finger, and we just pull the loop furthest away from the fingernail over and off, and pull these back a little bit so we can get our next lot of loops on. Okay, so now you don't have to worry about holding the tail anymore, that's nice and secure. And this is how it looks so far. You can't really tell how that's going to look yet, it just looks like a bit of a mess at the moment, but that's normal. So we're back to starting again, so we go over the first finger, onto the next one, over the next one, onto the next one, and then round and back till we've got 2 loops on each finger. Hold it with the thumb and first finger, and then pull the loops off the fingers, the loops that are furthest away from the fingernail, these back a little bit. And I'm just going to keep on doing that for a while, and then come back to you and show you what this bit here looks like. Okay, so I've carried on for a little bit longer, and this is how it currently looks. So you can see that it looks like actual real knitting, so it's a really clever way for children to start making knitted items. So we'll just carry on for a bit longer. Now you just need to try and keep your work quite loose, otherwise it can get very difficult. And if anything, any of the bits on your hands feel tight or anything, you just have to kind of give everything a wiggle and it will loosen up a bit. Same here, just give it a little bit of a wiggle, make it comfortable. There are lots of different projects that your children could do with finger knitting. If you look online, there's loads of different things. If you just type in what to make with finger knitting or something like that, then loads of ideas will pop up. Or if you look on Pinterest, that's usually a good place. And as you go along, you just want to keep putting it around your head and checking to see when you've got to the right length. So because We want this to fit over the head like a headband over the ears, you know, as an ear warmer. So keep checking how much more you need to do. And as I said before in my previous video, this finger knitting is the ideal way for your child to get used to using their hands and getting a feel for the tension when they're using the yarn before they move on to knitting with needles. This is the last finger knitting tutorial that I will be doing in this series, and next week we'll be moving on to how to begin with knitting needles. So if you're doing this project with your children, and they might not want to finish the project all in one go, so if that's the case and you want to pause the project for a while till the next day or a few days, then you can just put your finger knitting onto a pencil or a crochet hook or whatever, and so you just put it through the first one like that, the second one like that, and so on. And then you can just store that until you're ready to carry on with your finger knitting. And then when you want to put them back on, just slide each of the loops back onto your fingers, and then you're ready to carry on. Right, so I've actually done this long enough now to be made into a headband or ear warmer. So now we are ready to cast off. So what you need to do is cut your yarn, leaving quite a longish tail. And then you just get the yarn and you poke it through the first loop, pull it through, then through the second, and oops, so that one can come off, and then the final one you poke it through there, and then that's secure. So now you can make this into your headband by sewing just here, but if you would like it a bit thicker, you could make this again and sew another piece joined on if you want it to be double the width. And I think that's what I'm going to do with this one, because it's quite skinny for proper knitting, and that's the side that you want to be seeing. So if it's all scrunched up like that, it might be hard to tell, but you have to kind of make it flat, and then you can see that that's the right side. So you want both pieces having the right side up, and then you want to get a piece of yarn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to one of these tails that are still on the finger knitting. So, and I'm going to attach it close to the actual finger knitting. So I'm just going to tie that on. And then I'm going to cut off the rest of that tail because we don't need that bit. Just leave a little bit for now, but we can thread in later. So this is where you need your crochet hook. So if you're teaching young children how to do finger knitting, then this is obviously a bit that adults should be helping the child with, or doing for the child with their work. So we just want to thread the yarn and attach both pieces together. So we're going to pull it through. In fact, if your yarn is chunky enough, you don't even need the crochet hook. You can just use your fingers, you might find that easier, and pull. So I'm pulling it through on one side and then going through on the next side. Just on the edges, joining the edges together. And you can see joined together nicely there. So I'm just going to keep going till I get to the end. So now I've finished sewing the two pieces together, and I am still holding onto the yarn at the end, and we're going to use that to join the headband into a circle. So you just thread it together as you did with the sides. So now I've attached the two ends together and made a loop, and then we can just tie up all these loose ends, make sure that nothing's going to come undone. Can just be trimmed and woven into the work. So you can just tuck them into some of the loops. And there's the finished headband ear warmer, and I'll get my daughter to model that now for you so you can see what that looks like on. So here's Scarlett just modelling the headband. That's how it looks. Keeps her ears lovely and warm now. So you could keep it thinner, but I think the thicker one is even better. I really hope you enjoyed that second episode in this series of how to teach children to knit, and as I said, next week we will be moving on to using knitting needles, so I'm really excited about that and to actually be getting into real proper knitting. But if your children are young, then you know, stick with the finger knitting for a while and do lots of different fun projects, because there's absolutely no rush, you know, it's all about having fun. So as this is a new channel, I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment and subscribe, just to really kind of give this channel a little boost, so that would be greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you again very soon. Bye.